Welcome back to Adam's Fall. We have another episode today on a conversation between John Vervaeke and Britt Hartley. Once again, John Vervaeke is a cognitive scientist, professor at University of Toronto, colleague of Jordan Peterson, focuses on the meaning crisis, and Britt Hartley, who is an atheist spiritual director. In this video, they've been talking about her story, and in this particular section, she'll be talking about Mormonism and a particular term that I find a lot in ex-Mormon circles and in cult exposing channels, and that is the term high demand, quote unquote, high demand religion, as if that's a bad thing, as if religion should be low demand and not high demand, as if one is preferable to the other. So let's use the next little clip as a springboard to talk more about demand and how that is important in our life. Let's take a listen.
For that, they need better tools and resources to be able to do that more intentionally, where they've been doing it maybe unintentionally up until then.
Yeah.
Whereas the religious people like me, when you're raised in something like Mormonism, when you're in a high demand religion like that, you do have community and you have service and you have meaning and purpose and you have story and you have rituals and you have rites of passage for children and you have identity and you have belonging. It is all on a platter for you. And so we were so people in high demand religions like that are somewhat immune to the meaning crisis of society
Of
because their
course.
high demand religion is providing all of that. And then
Yeah.
when you lose all of that at once, that can be a more dangerous plunge into nihilism because you really do have nothing. You don't even know who you are. You don't know up from down anymore. And I tend to get more, it's more subtle. It's more dissatisfaction from the spiritual, but not religious or raised secular people. But it's much more of a crisis when I'm getting the person who just lost their faith
Yeah.
yesterday and has no way to orient.
Now, I would agree with Britt that, of course, when a religion provides, well, all the excellent things she just talked about, she really just summarized that very excellently. When you lose that, of course, you don't have those rituals, that meaning, that purpose, and it can be very difficult to leave that kind of situation where you seem to have the answers and the rituals and the community and the practices that provide you a lot of benefit. And but I wanted to focus on, she used this word phrase very commonly there, I think at least 3 or 4 times, and that is, quote, high demand religion. And I happen to know that this word is somewhat of pejorative. It's really associated with cults. Oh, they demand so much of you, so they must be bad. And so I wanted to get a quote from Jesus, of course. Was Jesus high demand? Well, of course, here's a quote from Matthew 10:37-39. Anyone who loves their father and mother more than me is not worthy of me. Anyone who loves their son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. Whoever does not take up their cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds their life will lose it, and whoever loses their life for my sake will find it. So this is a very well-known passage from Jesus in Matthew there, that in fact Jesus is demanding that you lose all your selfish, ego-based things and sacrificing them all at the altar, including by putting him and God at the top of the hierarchy, even if that means the sacrifice of your family. Not literally the sacrifice, but Jesus is talking about that he and God, his example, should be at the top of the hierarchy, even above family. Now, is that high demand? Yes, that's high demand to the max. If we're going to be like Jesus, of course, he demands that we be perfect like him and that we sacrifice everything that's of a lower value to that which is a higher value. Now, is Mormonism high in demand? I think Joseph Smith said something similar, probably taking off what Jesus said. He said that a religion that does not require the sacrifice of all things never has power sufficient to produce faith necessary unto life and salvation. In other words, what I think he's getting at there is that a religion that doesn't demand a lot isn't worth its salt. It really hasn't changed the person. And if religion is about transformation, which I think the LDS faith is, if there's no really demand, just like if you have a child and you don't demand anything of them, well, of course, they're not going to do anything. And so I never understood this silly pejorative about high demand, silly in my view, high demand religion. Is high demand bad? Is there any other area of life where being demanding we consider bad? Every area of excellence is high demand. I just went to a piano competition where we watched some of the greatest aspiring pianists compete to see if they could win the competition. And of course, they've been playing hours and hours a day for 20 years in some cases or more since they're a very little child. Of course, we look at bodybuilders and fitness gurus. These people are working out, doing aerobic exercise, bodybuilding, lifting weights for hours at a day. Scholars have studied hours a day for their whole life to learn the information they've learned. Scientists, of course, are spending hours and hours studying and doing experiments. All of these would be quote unquote high demand. Yet we don't look down on these things. We see that as excellence. We look up to these people. In every area of life, excellence is quote high demand. Moral, academic, vocational excellence is always high demand. And if religion is about true transformation, and Jesus was definitely talking about transforming into loving people as he demonstrated, then the ideal is always going to be the most demanding. And Jesus was the ideal in the Christian sense. So therefore, matching the ideal, of course, is going to be high demand. But becoming the best baseball player or golfer or tennis player, of course, is going to be very demanding. If we were to transform our lives into more excellent creatures, of course, that excellence is going to be very high demanding. And it's my contention that any religion, and I think we've seen this from mainstream Christian denominations and other denominations that turn into not being very high demand, that they usually dissolve. Uh, where there is no challenge, people move on. And it's the more traditional demanding religions that are still around. So any religion that doesn't demand a lot in development of character, moral and otherwise, is in my estimation not worth its salt. And I'm glad that the LDS Church is a high demand religion. Otherwise, it wouldn't be worth following. Just a few couple thoughts here and on this topic. Please subscribe. Please leave your comments. It would be much appreciated. Look forward to your comments. Thank you.